Hello everyone, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes. Now today we're going to look at the Aquarius full moon, and you might ask, well, we just did that. Well, there's a second one, and it is rare to have two full moons right after each other in the same sign, but this year it's happening with Aquarius, and that happens to be the age we're moving into as we speak, the Aquarian age. So it's really a big deal, especially since Uranus has created a major connection to the first full moon and the new moon in Leo. So Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So there's a lot going on that's Aquarian, and that means freedom, breakthroughs, new discoveries, opening up your perspective. Now, what's happening with this second full moon, which is also called a blue moon, is that it occurs at 29 degrees in Aquarius. That's where the moon is. And the sun will be at 29 degrees in Leo, opposite the moon. Now, 29 is called a critical degree in astrology, and it carries a lot of intensity. It reduces to 11. 2 plus 9 is 11, and that means a gateway opens up. And the gateway is very much about your connection to your intuition, so intimately listening, but also intimate relationships, close relationships. And not only that, we have the full moon happening on August 22, which is also a master number, just like 2911 is a master number. 22 is the architect of peace number. 11 is the psychic master. So this is really a very amazing full moon. Not only that, the moon is conjunct Jupiter, and that makes it extremely positive. There's a lot of spiritual growth, happiness, an expansion of everything that you are focusing on. So make sure it is something that you really feel connected with at soul level. There's more joy, more optimism, more abundance, and it really is an exciting moment. So let's look at the details. The full moon happens on August 22nd at 1:02 p.m. Universal Time in London, which is 8:02 a.m. Eastern Time, New York, and 5:02 a.m. Pacific Time, LA. And you don't have to be in Aquarius. This full moon, as every lunation, happens somewhere in your astrology birth chart. You have all 12 signs, you have 12 houses, and so the lunations happen somewhere personally for you in those houses and connects to your personal planets in some way as well. So the numerology code is 22, architect of peace. It is 2929, which is an 1111 portal opening up, portal of inspiration, of truth. And then we have the universal date for 8/22/2021 adds up to 17. And 17 is what I call the immortality number. So it really focuses on leaving a legacy behind through confidence and leadership and strength. So not only that, we have the Leo energy through the sun in Leo. We have Jupiter conjunct the moon, which brings a lot of inner confidence and a trust in inner wisdom, a lot of fire. Sun is in Leo, fire sign. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, fire sign. There's a lot of fire. So you get a boost in your personal energy. You get a boost in the material and spiritual growth in your life. You just have a lot of good fortune. And so Jupiter is the planet of joy. And so whatever you're focused on at this time, whatever you're aligning with, is going to get bigger, is going to expand. It will grow. It will allow you to move beyond boundaries, right? The Aquarius impact, to see beyond the horizon, which is what Jupiter does. And then the 17 universal date helps you manifest lasting results and do so in a big way, because the combination with Jupiter and the two master numbers, the fact that it's the second full moon in Aquarius, I mean, this is all really, really big. So we are at the precipice now. We are literally having a full moon right before the final third of the year begins in September. And the Aquarian themes that are activated in the last few years, especially the focus on outer space, getting into outer space, also testing the meaning of what freedom means personally and collectively, making new discoveries and breakthroughs, having the openness to accept other cultures and other perspectives without taking away the freedom to express yourself. So other worlds, alternate ways of living, and using your inspiration and intuition much more, because there's so much change that you can't rely on the old playbook. This is all very Aquarian. So Aquarius also rules astrology and numerology, and those have also been really accepted and embraced more and more, and will continue to be, because the study of those ancient divination arts is actually under the umbrella of Aquarius. So it's a big occasion having these two full moons. This is the second one. We're in the 2000 year of Aquarius. We are basically learning to focus on peaceful resolutions, specifically with the number 22, August 22, architect of peace. But that requires us to be in a state of inner peace first, because in order to further peaceful resolutions, we ourselves need to look at every situation we find ourselves in, especially in relationships, and further those peaceful resolutions within our personal sphere first. And then we can align with the peaceful resolutions collectively. Now, we also have a conjunction of Mars and Mercury, and they're forming each a trine to Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. So this is important. So Mars rules your energy, your libido, your ability to forge ahead, your excitement to move forward. And Mercury, which is also a personal planet like Mars, is all about how you communicate, how you connect, how you're expressing yourself through words or any language really of expression, what you're thinking about, what's in your thought patterns. And that's being invigorated and shifted in a big way, because that's what Uranus does, is it changes, it shifts, it repurposes, it realigns, and it totally actually creates breakthroughs so that old patterns of energy use, Mars, or thoughts are discarded as you break through to a new way. So Mars and Mercury that are creating this connection, this trine to Uranus, are in Virgo, which is an earth sign, a healing sign, and Uranus is in Taurus, which is also an earth sign. That's how the trine is formed. A trine is created in similar elements, the same element, in this case, earth. And so that means whatever breakthroughs you experience will have a longer lasting impact. There's a stability with earth signs that allows transcendent shifts to really put down roots, earth, go into the earth. So whatever is happening in your life, it's really deep. It's, there is a lot of change. We know that there's a lot of uncertainty. And of course, Aquarius in general brings that ability to let go, shift, move into the future. You can allow it to happen and know that it will be very secure and long lasting because of that earth element. And finally, Venus trines Saturn, and that's an invitation to commit to both your love relationships, your deeply personal relationships, Venus, beauty, any new romance that comes into your life, and to commit to creating prosperity, taking finances seriously and manifesting a kind of abundance that is holistic, that feels good, that is pleasurable, that is not about making money for the sake of money, but because it brings you joy, because it fulfills you. Now, of course, Aquarius being the sign of freedom and breakthroughs, discoveries, exploring the unknown, inspiration, intuition, going out of bounds, covering new ground, focusing on the future, leaving old paradigms behind. It really impacts the conjunction of the moon, our heart, our feelings, and Jupiter, which is expansion of our feelings, right? And allowing our feelings to discover joy. So returning to joy, turning to joy and returning to joy. So feelings, which the moon represents, they're messages that we have about our desires and what drives us, either the divine or the ego. Those are the two choices of what drives our feelings, right? And so negative feelings are created by the egoic mind. And so this is a great opportunity to look at those negative emotions because they are created by a negative thought, obviously, or a desire that hasn't happened, that hasn't gone the way you wanted it to. So if you believe that you should be able to do something when you can't actually do it, or you have a desire to accomplish a goal and that isn't actually feasible, it actually is pie in the sky, right? It's not possible. This can create a disconnect, and that then, in terms of your feelings, your emotions, creates a sadness, a disappointment, or even an anger. Things didn't go the way I wanted. And so we all grow because we have these mistaken beliefs or desires that are not fulfilled. And then these negative feelings, they trigger us emotionally, and those emotions trigger even more thoughts and even more ideas and even more feelings. And so it's like a hamster wheel. So that's when things appear like I shouldn't have, or I shouldn't do this, or this shouldn't be happening. And then we go to blaming others or blaming a circumstance, right? So going into guilt and blame. Instead of just accepting reality the way it is, we create drama by arguing with the results, blaming, crying, feeling sorry, or feeling bad, or feeling angry, right? So Jupiter's wisdom is coming in here with the conjunction with the moon and Jupiter's connection to beliefs itself, right? And then Aquarius is out of the box understanding. It's a liberating energy that's helping us to end how we have been believing things that have been hand-me-downs, right? And that have consistently failed us in such a big way. So here's how we are helped. So we can learn so much from our feelings about the role that our beliefs play in how we suffer. Our feelings bring an attention on those beliefs itself. They bring the attention on the beliefs that are not actually serving us. And they then make it possible for us to free ourselves from those beliefs if we're willing to examine them. And that's the key. And this is where Aquarius is very helpful. Whereas Jupiter is the actual planet of beliefs, Aquarius allows us to inquire, to examine. This is why it governs astrology, numerology, and science and discoveries, because the discoverer, the inventor mind is very much the Aquarian sense. So we have to have an urge, which we're getting now with the second full moon, 2 full moons in Aquarius, to ask what belief is keeping me in this place of the hamster wheel. So what usually happens is we don't, how should I put this? We don't consider examining how we think, our thoughts. So we're not used to seeing our thoughts as being the culprit of the problem. We think that the solution to feeling better is to change something externally, to change something from the outside. So instead of searching for that belief that is causing this disconnect, the belief behind the feeling, and making a change or ignoring it altogether, right? Literally taking the high road. We try to change reality to fit that belief. And this is why the hamster wheel keeps turning, is we haven't jumped off the hamster wheel. And Aquarius is asking us to create that breakthrough, to jump off. And so if we don't examine the actual culprit, the underlying belief that is behind that feeling, right? That creates a prescription for suffering and more pain. So we've been taught that our thoughts and desires have the power to create the reality that we want. Now, this is the egoic reality, right? But the truth is that reality is always changing, and how it changes isn't entirely under our control. The divine source, the universe, is the ultimate creator of reality. The ego plays a very small part. But we've been told that if I plan enough, if I learn enough, if I desire what I want enough, if I work my darndest to get what I want enough, if I'm good enough as a person, everything will come out the way I want. And if things don't go the way I want, then I assume that I just need to do more, work harder, learn more, strengthen my desire for what I want more, be a better person, So it doesn't matter. Reality is what it is. It will still unfold mysteriously. So it unfolds in response to our thoughts and beliefs and actions. That is true. But it mostly unfolds in accordance with the divine plan. And this is what the ego doesn't like, right? Our soul's calling is actually in alignment with the divine. It's not in alignment with the ego. And when we see this, our ego starts losing its grip on us. The ego then becomes a servant to the divine instead of trying to control what isn't controllable. And this is where we are now in history, in human history, where we literally have only the divine self to turn to. There is nothing else that's going to guide us through what is going on right now. So once we see that most negative emotions are created by the egoic mind and most positive feelings come from the divine self, we also start seeing that those feelings that are positive that come from the divine are not really emotional. They're a state of feeling. They almost are like a sensory perception that guides us and points us onto how to live and what direction to go in. And the way we recognize this feeling is how it communicates. It communicates through joy, through elation, happiness, excitement. And so when you have those feelings, they're a wonderful sign that you're aligned to your soul's plan. It is like immediate feedback that's there. So you can trust those feelings. So you're going to ask, okay, so when the ego gets what it wants, I also feel happy. I also feel even elated. But there is a difference, and it is subtle, but it actually gets less and less subtle the more you feel the difference. So that joy and excitement and elation and happiness that comes from the divine self, it actually brings you inner peace and contentment and fulfillment. And that's in contrast to a high, a giddiness that the ego feels when it gets what it wants. And it is also short-lived. It's like a high that you get from a drug, right? It's usually accompanied as well by wanting more of what you got, where you're not satisfied, meaning the ego doesn't relax into the happiness, into the peace and contentment, but it generates even more thoughts. It generates even more desires. It's not happy. It's not content. It's not satisfied. And so this is really a very key understanding that Jupiter brings, the wisdom of what it means to be inspired and truly happy and at peace and content and elated and excited, and that it creates that sense of calmness, right? That is really a big deal. And finally, you may have, because Jupiter is conjunct the moon during this full moon, you may have an enhancement of feelings that are negative, like hopelessness or sadness or lack of motivation, unhappiness. And these usually are there when you are not aligned to your actual soul's calling. So the thing is, when they are not that long lasting. They may be tied to a circumstance, the result of a tragedy, for example, or a disappointment. And then they only last for, a certain amount of time until your situation changes. But the long lasting unhappiness or sadness, depression, that is a sign that your divine self isn't on the trajectory of fulfilling your mission for this lifetime. And it's a wake-up call. That's really all it is. It's a wake-up call to get back on track, because the divine is here eternally. The divine has been here all along. The divine will never go away. It's the only thing that's ever been here, which means you are the divine. Wherever you look, there is the divine. And the joy of seeing yourself in everything, in everyone, is what changes everything. So why would you want to turn away from that joy? You don't have to turn away. All you need to do to be exquisitely joyful is here, right in front of you. It is never going away. And so this is why the number 17 universal date is also important. It is the number of the immortality. You are immortal, and joy and love and light and peace are all immortal. They are part of the divine. And all you need to do is be who you really are, be it fully without apologies and without distraction, without a thought of anything else, and you are in the clear. And this really is a clearing. This full moon is clearing away the cobwebs. It's opening up the portal, the 2929 portal of joy, right? And so if you can just be thrilled to discover who you are at soul level every day and accept all the change and excitement that comes your way as a blessing, as a growth experience, you are so aligned then to just coasting through whatever is going on, no matter how dire it seems at the time. Of course, one of the ways to discover who you are at soul level is to discover your divine blueprint, your Astro-Numerology Code, which you can do in a free masterclass at starcodeclass.com. This is a wonderful live stream that allows you to see who you are, your life purpose, your destiny, your astrology code, and you can do the same for the people in your life. It's so exciting, and it helps you to stay in that place of non-judgment and respect, and to be totally independent, a very Aquarian theme, right? To be independent of others and to be just totally free to explore who you are. So go watch that really fun free masterclass at starcodeclass.com and have an amazing Aquarius full moon number 2. And I can't wait to see you next week in our next episode of Star Codes. Lots of love.